right, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Let's get started. We have a few requests. I was asked to look at the Japanese yen, so let's do it. This is a Japanese yen index. This is provided by the data from Pepperstone. What this does is it takes the Japanese yen and it gives an average based on multiple currencies, and that group of Japanese yen versus the US dollar, Japanese yen versus the Chinese yuan, Japanese yen versus all of these different currencies gives us an average. And what this does is it helps paint a picture of what the Japanese yen is actually doing. Okay, and I like it. We can easily see a trend line on the top right here. Based on the flow of price, we can just connect all of these tops. And what we're doing is we're connecting these energy centers here and here at the cores, and they're giving us verification. They're giving us everything we really need for this to understand that trend line right there. Okay, we can give that a solid color, and we can give it a label, key angle. We're looking at this on a weekly chart, so we would want to put weekly chart somewhere in there, weekly. Are we bullish or bearish this crypto in the longer term story so far? Are we bullish and bearish? And what's the easiest sign to know if a crypto or stock or index or currency is bullish or bearish?
Lower highs and lower lows.
That's right. If we identify a cryptocurrency that's weak, and we would want to pair that up with one that's primarily strong, and what that would do is it would give you the most volatility. If they're both weak and you pair them up, like Japanese yen versus US dollar, and the US dollar is weak and the Japanese yen is weak, then you're not going to see much movement if you buy that currency pair. It's almost going to look like the same because they're not deviating from each other. Pairs in the currency market, you have to pair them with each other, and it's good to look at the indexes. There's really only 6 main indexes to look at: the Chinese yuan, Japanese yen, ground British pound. You can look at the Aussie dollar, the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, and I think there's one more. But there's not too many primary main ones that are traded. And with those 6, you can just mix and match those. But generally, if you find one that's very strong paired up with one that's really weak, and that gives you that volatility that you need to create the market spreads, and then you basically buy the one that's strong or short the one that's weak. All right. When we have this, we can pair it up with our first areas, which are our first foundational areas of energy centers on the low side, which we're going to use this energy center here, and it's going to have revealed that first place, which would have been the support, and we're going to see that support was actually broken. So if we placed it here, we're going to have verification in the past, of course. Okay, and then we're going to see another verification here and here and here, but we're now playing underneath. So now this gives us a stronger clue that we're actually dealing with a mid-phantom. Okay, to create a mid-phantom, or to turn it into a mid-phantom, what we need to do, as you guys remember, is we take the distance from the top bar and we bring it down. We just draw any kind of line, it doesn't even matter the shape, but we just gonna draw an accurate bar from the top to the bottom. And then you just move this down underneath, and then all you do is you duplicate that line the 3rd time, and you now have a new phantom, which is going to be approximately here. And then that middle one just becomes the mid phantom. So you just dash it. Okay, if you want to give this a label, you can put MP weekly, and down here we can call that phantom. And all that, I call that phantom, it's just all it is a ghost of the original angle. Okay, so now we have a few angles from which to work with. You could draw this just using a pitchfork in the GAN tools, like a pitchfork. If you wanted to, it will look something like this. And then you can adjust the points. The reason I don't use the pitchfork is because I like to have more control over my lines, and I can see them preemptively. Okay, I can see the preemptive phantom back once we start closing underneath. In fact, I can see it before if I really wanted to. I can even see the one on top if I wanted to, by just taking that distance and again drawing the distance between here, and you now know the exact distance that you should be drawing the next line by putting this one on top, and there you would have the top side. So you can find those out preemptively if you wanted to before they finish happening. The next thing we're going to be looking for is step-ups. Step-ups are, again, when we cross over from one side to the other. We cross over this middle boundary right here. So we're going to draw our step-up right here. Let's draw that. We draw them in a gray rectangle. Okay, we can see that this one's a classic textbook example of price giving a strong verification in this area and in this area and point of interception when the step up interacts with the main trend together, and here price actually happens to meet together with the step up and with the main trend, and it's no wonder we have a very sharp decline in April of 2023. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that Japanese yen should have been weak in that area. And this is all still without using any indicators. We haven't even looked at much of anything except for just price action and the flow of price. All right, there should be another step up. I've done the first one, the easiest one. Can somebody tell me the last two and draw them on my screen right now? Especially if you're new, I would love you to do it. Or if you're feeling like you can do it, just go ahead and draw them right on my screen. There's one that's available and one that's in the works. Anybody know where it's at? Go ahead and draw it right on my screen. The next step ups. One that's complete and one that's still forming. Good, Sharon. And Sharon, can you complete for our point of interception? And there's another one that's on there. There should be another one. What do you know? Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, the answer is going to be right here. For one, there's number one. The point of interception would have been, this would have been our first step up. Point of interception is when we're going to intercept the main angle. A lot of energy, if it hasn't had a resolve, generally will manifest, and usually price will go down or go up during that time. But you see an influx of energy come in usually when the step ups come in. There's other areas that cause point of interception, but they're usually minor. The more stronger ones are point of interception, and usually see it strongest when price is really reacting to step up. The next one that needs to be activated is this one down here, but this one's still forming. It's when we cross from this side to this side. The only problem is we haven't fully got to that side, but because I can see one or more step-ups being activated, I already know preemptively where this one should be activated, and it should be activated the last place we cross over from one side to the other. It's going to be this one, but because we're coming back up in this one, we may also want to put on a third one approximately here, because the primary answer is the last place we cross over from one side to the other. Now this one already had a response right here, and because we come back up, and if we come down, the last place we want to cross over is where we're going to place one. So we would actually have a fourth answer, with point of interception being sometime in December of 2024, somewhere close to there, and then also along this path. So we'll be looking at those areas. When a step up is complete and you have some strong verification, to save time, you can just simply fade those lines away so they don't take up too much of your attention when looking or building a map. Okay, but I'm primarily looking for price to have done something and give me a resolve. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go over some of our next things. Let's look at some high-level cores with round action. Generally on the bottom, the shape may be a wonky round action, but it's not. it could be like maybe a type of round action, but it's a real funny shape. You can see it's pretty straight here. You can see that if you draw the cores in this area, it's almost an exact straight line. And then you have a straight up shape here. Whereas something like this might constitute round action. Or maybe something like this would be more organic, or this would be more round, or this would be more round. So just so you guys know the shapes that we're dealing with, this right here on the bottom may not be round action. Okay. And I'll take a screenshot for your record. Okay. I'll put a little R for round action, or put it in green here. Round action. And then I'll put it one here and here. And then I'll put this in here. V or peak shaped. With peak shaped action, I usually only like to pair those together with round action if possible. So on the bottoms, I usually don't pay attention too much to peak action. I primarily pay attention to the round action because during my prayer time, the Lord clearly spoke to me and he says, in 2023, teach about round action a lot. So I said, okay. And that was simple as that. Okay. So we already saw that we connected those round actions on top. So there's not really much to do after that. Let's zoom in and look a little bit closer at a few things. Let's look at RSI. Okay. Let's look at RSI. We're in a downtrend. I want to see if I can pick up some RSI map locations by taking the top of the run and identifying where RSI was at during the tops of these areas here. I'm looking at what RSI was at during those times, and I'll put this as a little green bar. Okay, actually we'll do it red. Okay, and then I'll do another, I don't have the location from in the past, but I have it about right here, and it starts there. Okay, so RSI location is here, and what I want to do is I want to stretch this out on top. Now, when I see RSI getting close to that line, I now know where on price might be an ideal time for prices also to reverse. We can see that RSI really came into these areas here, so therefore I would know that it would have been this season that may have been where I'm primarily looking for prices to reverse. Okay, so that would have been my basically the time when down energy may start coming in. So that's from our RSI location. And because we're still in the down trend and the trend hasn't really been broken, I'm going to be focusing still more on this RSI, stretching it out and going a little bit further. Now, here's something very interesting. Okay, even though that's a peak, this RSI, we can see that there was more down energy to come. So we're going to look at this on a daily chart as well and see if there's any other primary signals, although these other ones got pretty close here and here, and there was only a few months out of the year where that was the case. Okay, but that looks good. Let's go to a daily chart and look at this indicator a little bit further. Okay, this is one way you can trade it. All right, going back to those same peaks, if we were now doing this on the daily chart, I would map out that location on price and then mark that same location on RSI. Where was the highs? Here. All right, so this is what I call RSI map location. Okay, and then I'm going to stretch this out, and I can see here where we got our first sell signal. Okay, and then here was another one right there, and then the other ones were here and here. These signals will be more reliable when you have a downtrend and you pair that up with the price action. Okay, let's give you an example. Okay, so we're going to use these two areas as a, we'll use all three in confluence, okay? And confluence is where you have a series of things that all tell the same story at the same time. All right, so we'll use these signals as just a basic tutorial for what we're about to show you next. Okay, so I'll take a screenshot of that for your record. This is on the daily chart. If I have an indicator that tells me, hey, you should be thinking to sell, I only want to pair that with the actual price on the map. And it's easy, okay? So if we already have a downtrend, this makes it super, super easy. But what we do, and I spoke about this in lesson number 10 and lesson number 8 of Sword Method 5.0. Okay, if you saw my series of videos, you're going to see what we did. But basically, it's simple. We find the fish that's going in the wrong direction, and we hunt that fish. We find the prey that's weak, and we hunt for that one. We hunt for the thing that's going in the wrong direction. So, if we're in a downtrend, or if I know we're in a downtrend, it's like the fish is swimming down. And then the weakness would be the fish that's swimming in the wrong direction. So here at an indicator, we can see that price just so happens to be doing what in this little section here? Swimming up in the wrong direction. In the grand scheme of things, this is the small fish compared to the big story. Here's another example right here with another fish swimming in the wrong direction. Now this is going to be apparent in just a second. And then here a smaller little fish swimming in the wrong direction. So these are the small fish that are swimming in the wrong direction in just this quick example, okay? Let's put this on here. Let's make this big crayons. Wrong direction fish. Correct direction larger story fish. Two major things, and this is just always helps you keep this in context. I wish somebody made it this simple for me when I was young, because then I would have been like, oh, that's easy. So let's talk about the first fish, okay? That first fish, how do we fix that? How do we, if we know that this fish is swimming in the wrong direction, all we have to do is cut the down move. It's like Bitcoin. We knew that USDT.D in the larger story is very bullish for Bitcoin. But smaller term weaknesses on the 6-hour charts would constitute prices going in the wrong direction. The right direction is the larger story. Prices should go up. It's the same thing with Shiba Inu. The larger story for Shiba is Shiba's in position. We can know that by reading the map. But if you find prices going the wrong direction on the smaller time, that's how you can actually use that to be profitable or to position yourself for strong health. Okay, so we're looking at this on the larger story and just plot the bullish move. Here is a trend line between this smaller energy here and here on the daily chart. And it's as easy as looking for when the trend is broken and there's a change of behavior. Broken trend here on just this November 10th of 2020. Price comes up to the underside and rejects. Now what happens? We should be going down. I don't want to buy this in this section while we're going up. I want to buy it after the weakness has appeared. Okay. I have a sell signal that has appeared, but I don't just sell. I now know the season is that I should be selling, but I still use the price maps to confirm my entry by cutting the down move. And I love to be able to slow this down because I slowed this down in that episode of 7 and number 10. Oh, sorry, number 8 and number 10, where I talk about cutting the down move. Let's write this in our notes here. Weakness appears. Here at the top is our sell signals, RSI location indicator. Way weakness fish or weak fish. Okay, that's those fish swimming the wrong way. Rejection. I shouldn't put this here. Rejection where it should be, because it's on the underside of the trend line. There's a smaller energy center. Smaller energy center. If you were to create the phantom right here, you would have had verification up at the top. Something like that. It's probably close. Okay. I think that's what I need you guys to see, and then that's our symbol. Symbol we always draw. Okay, that's the symbol we always draw in every single episode. So those are the things we need to remember. Now let's do this on the next one. Okay, it's really easy, super easy. Okay. Where's our next fish that was swimming? Ah, there it is. Swimming the wrong direction. What's the flow of price? Let's see. In this case, we got a curve going up. We have a low double multi-touch bottom here with verifications. Here's a multi-touch, and then here's your other verification for a third point of support. Here's your fourth support. So where should the weakness enter? On this candle right here. That's your weakness candle. October 8th, 2021. Okay? That's when we should start going down. Okay? Another thing you can do, take a look at the descent. What was happening before price was going up? We have this core here, that core here, and if we stretch it out, yeah, that's where it should be. Let's give that just another angle, maybe orange. Okay? We can see that if you wanted to make the phantom of this key angle up here, bring it down till the lowest core is in this area. I see price playing up in this area. Let's try the wick. There's the wick on September 8th, and the support needed. Good. Stretch the angle out. Still the same story. No matter how you slice it and dice it, we're still getting weaknesses in the same area. Okay. Here's the curve, parabolic. Price not responding to any sword cuts, but the new pattern form, weakness. Although that would have been a little bit slowing down, we can see price was bouncing in that area. You don't really need to draw that, but you can. Where would the trade start? Again, still right here. Okay. Signal, sell signal, weakness. This time, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Weakness. This is where we should go down. Okay. Wrong way fish, number 1. Wrong way fish, number 2. This is where we would look to sell, and that's a result down here. Finally, the last one. Fish swimming up. This one's a more easy one. Praise God. Sword cut. This is the ones I like to trade. If this one is not your cup of tea, just breakouts, this one should be. 2 sword cuts within the downtrend at the roof. Okay, here's the resistance. By the way, this one back here did not touch the full resistance, but this one did twice. Okay, this is an easier one. Okay, if you miss that entry, you can do the flat and take a sell right here as well. Multi-touch, flat. All right, I like this.
Your job to behave themselves in order to...
Okay. Rose, I just need you. Okay. Let's draw on this one, and then we'll continue. MT flat. Multi-touch flat. Here's your sword cut. Okay. Number 1. Number 2, we drew it. Here is your wrong way fish. Is a parabolic. Wrong way fish. RSI signal. And I think this is a good enough tutorial for right now. Let's go over to our more recent stuff. Okay, and then we're going to put the all of these tools to a test. Okay, so here would be where we want to take action. Here we might want to take action. Resistance line weekly. Weekly, okay, resistance. And then weakness number 2. Okay, these ones should bring price down, these should bring price down, and this one should bring price down. Okay, so those would be the areas where we want to sell, here and here for that one. And that first example, the weakness would have been here in that little circle. So those are the areas you'd want to continue selling this one or shorting it or taking a short position. All right, so let's go back. Since our RSI is still good and strong in this area, let's continue it out and look to see where our next sell signals are. Then they would have been here based on the map location. Okay, right there in that area. The second one would have been here. There's another one. These are the textbooks. And the third one is going to be in December of this year. Okay, I think you guys got the gist of it, but this is a great way to approach this type of trading. Okay, great way. Foundational area broke in here. Even though we have a signal, the weakness doesn't exactly appear to right here, and the sword cut that would have been created on this one doesn't give you any response. So here's a foundational area, sword cut would have been created, price is going right to the top, and we're not at the resistance area. We can see that price is just not ready to go down. Okay, there would have been a lot of supply in this area, and price should have came back to test it. That should be confirmed in the volume in these areas. Let's see what the highs. Ultra high volume in this area, ultra high volume in these prices. So within these prices, we're still having ultra high volume, and all that was tested again here with lots of volume, but this time all at the resistance area. So we can see that once we got higher up to that angle, another influx of volume came in, but this time with something to show for it. So this means that this was actually selling in this, on these bars, that actually had to be selling. Otherwise, if it was buying, and we would either need to stay the same or go higher. Okay, if it was accumulation, we would either need to drift or go higher. But we can see a result from all this effort, so therefore we can see that this activity therefore was selling at the top. So that's good. In this example, the better trade looking at the signal would have been here. Okay, but where would have been the next sell area? Where would have been the next weakness area? If this was the start of that weakness, where would have been the time to sell? The best one would have been either at the resistance, because that's the best prices already. And if you were drawing these bottoms and you're waiting for another confirmation, just connect both of those together and your trade would have looked like this. Weakness here. And this one's beautiful because you got that round action again, which we really like. That's my cup of tea personally. I like that type. Okay. Okay, I like that type of trading. All right. So therefore, in this example, I would want to have taken the trade at the resistance, especially with them being so close to that line, and here. Okay, one more time, wrong way fish. Weakness appears here. Whack. Weak. I have another room for another S. Wrong way fish. RSI signals. And the trade should start in this area. Okay, that would have been first place to take the trade. Oh, sorry, that would have been the first place to take the trade and the second place to take the trade. Trade 1, trade number 2. Okay, all right, for your records, this is just a good habit to cut that fish in the wrong direction. All right, we're learning something. Okay, let's go to today. Here we are, Japanese yen, signal appears in these areas. Foundational area. Now this one we may want to start zooming in a little bit smaller, possibly, but if you look at the foundational area, it's very low. It's a very low area. Okay, pay attention when you're going up and you get a bounce at the bottoms and then you go up. Draw those foundational areas because they are critical and they give you the biggest clue about what is happening next. So we're going to draw it from here and then we're just going to stretch it out, keeping our eyes on this location, okay? Here's your verification. You did that right. 1, 2, foundational area, okay? Foundational. This time we're going to label it here. Foundational angle. It could be a key angle. Foundational angle daily chart. And if you want to, for today's class, you could put wrong way fish. F. Wrong way fish. So you know what you're looking at. Japanese yen. All right, what are we missing on here to complete? We got the signals. What are we missing to draw? Can somebody tell me how we should draw this so that we know where the best trade could happen? And then after that's all there is to it. Anybody know? Come on, starts with an S. I'll make it even easier. I'll draw it. What was it?
Shortcut.
Swordcut. Where is the swordcut, Angie? Show them where the swordcut is on this. Can you draw it? If you're watching on this later on, you can't see it, but yes, Angie's drawing, circling in the right direction. The swordcut is when we cross over that weakness point. Right here is where we draw it. She put her dart right there. That's where you draw it, straight across, and we make it orange. Okay. If you're drawing it professionally, just go use the rectangle tool and cross over those small candles and stretch it out, okay? Yeah, that should be right here, and then stretch it out. So therefore, where does the trade start? The trade starts here. And what type of action do we have at this area? What type of action are we looking at? And would we be bearish or bullish at 764 on the index? Bearish or bullish? Okay, Sharon drew that symbol. The answers are round action and bearish is what we're looking at. Bearish is the answer, okay? Round action, bearish. Okay, that's going to be the answer we're looking at in here. All right, so we would have a very good idea when we were there that saying, hey, something's not right. We're getting round action in a wrong way fish with an RSI signal in a downtrend. We only want to be shorting in downtrends. So does it meet the criteria of confluence? We're in a downtrend, we're thinking shorting. We have an RSI signal location, we're thinking shorting. We can see and identify a wrong way fish and the foundational area has just been broken. That's another sign of weakness. And round action stopping exactly at the sword cut, which is what we're looking at. That's exactly what we have. 5 reasons why we want to be bearish in this area. And that's basic. And when I see that round action exactly on sword cuts, I'm thinking easy money. It's easy money. It's a no-brainer trade. If you can see this. If you know where to look for it in advance, if you say, I want to know when the weakness happens, you can see that price is just right here. What can you do and preemptively to find out when that happens? The answer is clicking on your line and then and you're going to see this little tab pull up. And then there's a little alarm button. You click on that alarm button and you can put and say, hey, price is coming to the line. Price is coming towards this support, okay? And I'm not going to do it because the price already did it, but it'll let me know the moment price touches it. I'll say, ooh, okay, now I'm watching it, okay? So you say, I want to see if price is going to go below. Just draw another line at that area, just somewhere below, and you could say, hey, click another alert. Price is closing below. Okay, so you can see, hey, weakness is appearing. Now, if you're the type of person you say, I bet I can get the sword cut prices, click on your rectangle, click the alert button. You may need to draw a line. It doesn't let me put alerts for the rectangle, but you can put another straight flat line and just play on the low side and say prices at sword cut prices. Alert, sword cut price, enter, because you're now waiting for the entry. You already know in advance what you're going to be doing several days in advance. Okay, you know your battle plan. That's the type of trading that makes you safer and position. Okay. In addition, if you were only able to be bullish in a crypto or something like that, what you're going to do is you're only going to be looking at these type of trades. You can use that type of thing for exits. Okay, ride your profits, let your profits ride while you're in the uptrend, but once the weakness appears, get out. Okay, especially if you're at a sword cut, get out, really get out, and you're rounding to get out of that trade. But in this case, we would actually use it to make money. All right, how far might we go in this example? We still would be looking at the bottom supports in these areas. I might be looking at those bottom supports. You can also do a reverse, look for when the health might come in, and then take your profit accordingly. Here would be the health, and I'll just draw it in white for you. If you want to risk it for the biscuit, draw that line and make it dotted. Okay, if price is crossing to this side, that's a sign of health appearing, and it may be slowing down. Okay, do I have any other questions regarding this tutorial on JPY index, the Japanese yen? So find me a crypto, find me an index that's strong, a currency pair that's strong, a currency that's strong, and we'll combine it with the JPY, and it should be still bearish. If I'm in this crypto right now, what I want to get in, I'm a little far from the entry, but I may, if I find the pair and I see the weakness appearing on that pair, I'll see how far away I was from those prices, and I'll still enter, because we're not so far from sword cut, and the percentage of money to be still made before we hit the major support. Just take the measure tool, go to your tools, go to the measure tool, and then we can take current price and draw it down here, and we can see there's 3.93% on this index chart. That maybe not tell us how much money is, because you don't trade the actual index, but there's a lot of still room for weaknesses. But normally that's how you would do it, but this is measured in a percent. Okay, and you can't directly trade the index, but you can trade it against another pair, and we can still see, hey, there's still room for that. All right, any other questions regarding this? Don't forget your loved ones. Happy Valentine's Day. All right, let's look at another tutorial. Let's go to one I was supposed to do. It looks like I missed your request. I do apologize. It's called METF. Riri, this is for you. Happy Valentine's Day, and I'm so sorry, buddy, I missed that. Let's look at it today. Melody informed me this morning. She was like, you missed Yuri's. I was like, oh no. Here's the one I think we're going to use. We're going to use METFI on MEXC on the daily chart. That's that May of 2023 April candle. Let's use METFI. All right. Is there any round structures that we can identify that we can use for these things? I see a strong one, and I want to see if you guys can see it. I'm going to move it to the left. Can anyone see any of the strong structures that we can use for here? There's a really strong one with verification on here, but you may have to look a little bit deeper. Let's see if you guys can identify it. I'll give you about 30 seconds. Go ahead and draw on my chart using the annotate feature. There's a reason I kept the candles a little squished together, okay? When you see a lot of noise, don't be afraid to squish the candles. Can you see it? If somebody presented you this chart and they said, hey, which directions are we going? Where's the weakness and health appearing? When do you start buying this? When do you start selling this? Is it bullish? Is it bearish? You're going to have to start drawing the map points, some of the most important and strongest energies. Okay. No one want to take a go? Okay, here we go. Here's what I see. When you see lots of noise, we pinch the candles together and just get rid of the noise and just start looking at what's really happening. What's the flow of price? Let's break it down piece by piece. Where's the round action in this section here? Okay. Anybody want to draw the round action in this section? I'm going to show you guys that you can do it. Where's the round action here? Good. Good job, Jeff. The whole thing is round action. Good. Points for Jeff. Okay. Next. Section number 2. Where is the round action here? Okay. We got Sharon got it. Sharon got the right answer. Sharon gave me this answer. Round action here. Okay. Now, why is that round action? What about this up here? She didn't draw that there. Does she need to draw that up there to make round action? Yes or no? Does she need to draw this to make round action? Yes or no? Nobody? The answer is no. She doesn't need to. It is Hidden Battler Superfood. Good job. It is Hidden Battler. She does not need to draw this section to complete round action. What would this be? This would be the essence of the move. What would this be? This would be the noise. This would be the exception to the rule. How do we resolve Hidden Battler, by the way? How do we resolve Hidden Battler? What is the rule in sword method to resolve Hidden Battlers? This would be in blue, Hidden Battler, and we draw a line with Hidden Battler. Where do we draw the line or the lines? Let me move it down just a hair. Okay. Where do we draw them? We draw them 2 places. Does anybody remember? That's how we resolve Hidden Battler, 2 places. That's right. The first one, Superfood drew. He drew it here at the core. Good job. Where's the other one that we draw? It's going to be, somebody draw the next place. And we label that HB1. Oh, I'm sorry. This would be HB number 2. Then on the right side on the top. Where's the next place we draw? Did anybody know? The answer is when we go back underwater. When we go back underwater is the next place. So we came above the round action, which is above the water, and we stopped here at that core. Okay? So that's where we would draw our Hidden Battler core. That would be HB1. This would be HB2. We go back underwater here. Underwater. Okay. Do we have verification? Oh yeah, you bet your booty we do. He said booty. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay. So this is how you can know that when you're looking at hidden batters, look for them to have a resolve. There's money on those 2 lines. These lines were hot up until right here. One got pressed, and you can see all the downward pressure in this area. Then you saw it pushed up again, and then another, we saw it trying to push it. You see a lot of pressure on this line, or this range. Okay, that's because there's hidden battler that was not resolved. Round action always doesn't mean that you're going to have another time at that top. But when I see hidden battlers, I almost always think usually you're going to have some kind of rejection at that point. And a strong rejection, by the way. Okay? So it was right for us to experience weakness at this area. Okay? Because that's hidden battler number 1. And this is hidden battler number 2. Do I have any questions regarding hidden battler? You guys are doing great today. I'm real proud of you. Okay, real proud of you. Good. All right, so we identified 2 points. And what about this last one? Right, where is the round action in this last section here? I'll give you about 10 seconds. Okay. Good try. Good try. I would say the answer is there is no round action in here. It's very straight and straight down. This would constitute a peak. It was a trick question. Okay. If there was any kind of round action, it might be right here. It's very small in comparison to the larger story. Now, let's take a look at the context of the story now. All right. So now I'm gonna delete this, and I want you to tell me now what it is you see. Okay. Does anybody see anything they might want to draw on this chart again? I'll ask you one more time. Okay. There's a few things we can do about drawing this. Yeah, there you go, Sharon. She's connecting those round actions. Sharon's drawing that. She drew that. That looks good, Sharon. Okay, what else? Anybody want to draw anything else on your map? You guys are going to be millionaires and billionaires, and I may not be there, okay, in your future, and you've got all these YouTube people telling you to buy this. Should you buy this? Draw those maps. Okay, what else? Does the peak right here hit this line in red? Yes or no? The answer is no. We are far off. Look how far off we are from that line. Now, why did we draw this right here? We drew this here because we understand the concept of essence. We're not deterred by the noise. We're studying the actual round action, so we know where to draw the angle in advance. The average person, an average trader, will not see that. Even advanced algorithms may not see that. But we see that. Okay? We see that. But no, price has not hit the underside of here. Now we can draw this as a key angle, but I can already tell you in advance, we're not going to see it, any response to it, if we bring it to the bottom here. I did see this one. Oh, I did see it. Sorry, I did see it. If we brought it to the lowest energy center, which is down here, where I'm moving this ball, we do have a verification. But then weakness appears here. We come back up one more time to the hidden boundary and go back right into the weakness area. So we should be having weakness by virtue of being underneath this trend. Okay, with a lot of noise to deal with. All right. We can now do a few other things. We can collect the wicks, because sometimes, especially with things with lots of noise, there's wicks to draw. So let's draw that one by taking it to the lowest wick. Now that we have the angle, we can break into the lowest wick and see if there's a verification here. Okay, we're not crossing over the other wicks and nothing. Okay, it's at this point we're going to probably zoom out to the weekly chart and see if there's any real confirmation. Is there confirmation? I would say possibly. Yeah, okay. The cores are still responding just in the right spot. Using the wick and the essences of these two moves, we can see that there should have been a support approximately here and almost to the exact line. You can see it to the exact line and the exact price. We do have it. Okay, so this one is a little more complicated and does require us $1.88. Does require us $1.86. Require us to do a little bit more investigation. But you can see that you solved the mystery of this crypto that we've never looked at before. Okay. So we had to go to the weekly to discover that support. Okay. So it tells us, for the most part, there was still health on the week of November 13th. At 8 p.m. on Sunday, when that candle closed, when it closed right there on that line, it pays to look back at the weekly chart. You could say, well, that's the principle of the hard close. Sure, we spiked all the way down here to $1.60. But at the end of the week, we stopped exactly where we were supposed to at 186. You knew that in advance because you were drawing the correct line. So you all had that number, right? And when you see that, what takes place in your mind? What do you think when it stops exactly on the line? What should you be thinking when price stops exactly on the line? Somebody tell me the answer. There's a rule. I know Michelle would know it. Price stopped exactly on line on the weekly larger story. Okay? November 20th. What is the answer? The answer is the principle of the hard close. Principle of the hard close. We teach this in sword method. Hard close. The principle of the hard close is when we close exactly on a line with a long candle, whether it's white or red or green or whatever, the principle is that the exact opposite color will be the next bar. So if I have a long red bar and I stop exactly where I'm supposed to, even if there was down pressure and I stop exactly on that pressure, almost 9 times out of 10, the next bar is going to be the exact opposite color. So this is a red bar, so the next opposite color will be a white bar, which means if this was a weekly chart, I know that we should have a good week next week. Okay? And sure enough, that was the case. That means price, and if price is going to have a good week next week, then it's going to look like it's bouncing on this line, and therefore there's still some health in this crypto that week of November 13th, 2020. Okay. Does everybody understand that? Principle of the hard close. If you're taking notes, remember that principle of the hard close. I do talk about this in sword methods lesson 1 through 10. Okay. So therefore, on this chart, what would you say is happening right now in the story? Okay. Can somebody tell me what's happening right now in the story so far? Let me ask a little more specific. Would we be at the moment bullish or bearish with just this data? Would you be bullish or bearish? Your friends are asking you. Your buddy's asking you. He's about to buy this. What is it? Ian says bearish. Okay. And why would you be bearish, Ian?
I don't know if it fell out of that channel. Still making. Yeah. And it's still, I don't know.
Yeah, he's on the right track because we fell out of the channel. Therefore, this is a sign of weakness appearing. Okay, that would be your weakness appearing. Okay, that's your weakness. Are we in an uptrend or downtrend? This one's a little bit tricky. Uptrend or downtrend? Anybody want to take a stab? Uptrend or downtrend?
And on one time frame, yeah.
Yeah, on the larger story, there is a high here and a high here, and these highs are getting lower. So we're getting lower highs. But what about the lows? We're not generally using the launch bar, but we do use this low and that low. And we could say, hey, the lows are getting higher. So the answer would be a little bit unclear if you were looking at that, okay? So this would be bearish, but the higher lows would be bullish. That would be opposing. So now what do? We look for the next series of weaknesses. The weaknesses is as follows. I'm going to show you. On the larger story, if we were to only draw those trend lines, and let's use a different one. If we were to only draw the lows together, I'll leave these faded away. It would look something like this. core, weakness is appearing by virtue of being underneath that line. Okay, that'd be number one. Number two low, we can take that second point and connect it to this low, and we should have support along this track. This other line that we draw connecting these secondary points would be known as accelerated adjustment lines. Okay, but if all we were doing was just connecting those foundational areas, the first weakness has been appeared. So that means we are in a mixed trend. We have higher highs, we're having lower highs, which is normally bearish, and we're having higher lows, but the lows are broken. And that's the difference. The lows are being broken. So we need to see a final confirmation by taking that secondary point and using that as a fulcrum. I'm going to label this for you guys right now, drawing this professionally. So here we go real quick, and then I think that's all we really need to tackle for the topic. So this would be, this bottom and this bottom would technically be accelerated adjustment zone or adjustment line, number one. I used to call them adjustment zones, but now I just call them lines. We can label that AAL, or accelerated adjustment lines. Okay. Adjustment line number one. And what this means is that price is accelerating on the way down. What I look for on this is price to bounce and give me additional support at these areas. Okay, so price should have given me additional support here. You may want to use this as one last gulp of air. If I'm shorting this, I do not want to short it at this point, because most likely you're going to go up one more time. But it doesn't mean you're out of the clear. Usually price is going to break below that because it is a sign of weakness. It just means it's not ready to go down just yet. Okay, so most likely it's going to look something like this, and you can draw a sword cut at that first foundational bottom. We can also have used that key angle here, which is probably going to be stronger than both of them. So let's draw now our final story. Okay, using the key angle that we found, this is the essence key angle on the daily chart, confirmed by the weekly chart. That's what we found. That's our essence key angle. This angle down here on the bottom, which is the same angle, would have been our phantom, okay, essence phantom. And again, it was our essence because we actually had to draw it with the hidden battler. Okay, we had to draw that round action. You had to see it apart from the hidden battler, and we have verification of that hidden battler, so that's how we know to draw this round action. Okay, number one. So we got that. So the sword cut on this one, if we were just drawing a flat line, and I'm gonna do this specifically, would have been right here. This is where the sword cut would be. Okay, right there. Now, taking this foundational area here, we can label that as foundational angle, or just foundational key angle. Okay, daily. We did have to use the wick, and I will place this for that essence. Place that wick for verification. Foundational angle daily core. And we're going to put this on the left hand side, and we're going to put the word broken. Okay, just so you know it's broken, or just as a reminder for today's tutorial. Okay, broken, it was broken here, and then price comes back up in this area. So there was already weaknesses by prices coming underneath, but it wasn't respecting the line. It didn't respect it at all. It just came right back up in that line, but it's still a foundational area. So the sword cut would have been on this one would have been a little bit higher, approximately here. How do we reconcile the two? It's very easy. Just draw a rectangle and block out those areas. That's all. That's as simple as that. Take all the guesswork out by just blocking out those areas and just draw the range. Okay? Just draw the range. When you think of prices in a range, you're going to be more successful. Okay, so we have our last supports. We got to count for this move right here. Even though we came down, we went all the way up there. Now, I'm willing to bet that this area right here was a target. I'm almost willing to bet. I'm going to put on target system real quick just because I'm so curious. And I almost bet it was one. Let me see how. I'm going too far now. But let's go back in time to right here. Okay. Yep. That's right, baby. That's right. So if we were all trading just before here, and I took the previous data, this right here was one of our targets to the low side. It's from here and here. Okay? Let me show you why that is. If you're doing target system, you can go as far as you want. But at that time, we would have only been able to go back that far in time. And these would have been our target down here. And I would have put it in this color, that teal color. There's another target that is going to be up here. And target system, remember with target system, we use the areas between the peaks. There's a peak here and a peak here. So we use the very low valleys. Here's a peak. Here's a peak. We're going to use the lowest valley. Okay. And there's only two that I see. There's one on top here if you wanted to draw it right there, and then one up there, and there's probably another one back there, but that's only for the very, very high side. Okay, if I'm drawing this, I can now delete this, and I stretch this out. Look at what price did. That $1.60 price, did you see that, how price came and reached down to that bottom? Very interesting, right? Very interesting. Target number 1 would have been here. Target number 2, you can label it. It doesn't matter what numbers you give it. Just give it a number. Overlap sword cut. So now what can we tell that price is actually doing? Let's read the story in context. We got a sword cut here. We got a target. This is price building underneath an area of weakness. There should be some distribution that's actually happening. And no more supply in this area. Good. I would say, and look where the supply comes back in, just a little bit at the bottom, just a little bit here at the bottom, right at the support, based on that last accelerated adjustment support in this color here, teal. All right, so therefore, we can conclude, should we sell this today or not sell this today? Do we sell this today or not? Yes or no? As far as shorting it goes, would we want to short this today?
Yeah.
Not yet. I would think not yet. Okay, the correct direction is down. But because of the support here, we may just want to take that energy and look to see if there's health appearing, which there is a little bit of health coming in this crypto possibly. If we can maintain these closes, most likely we're going to go up a little bit further, and then we want to take our profit and get out. If we were shorting, that's where we'd want to take our short in that area. Okay. The other place to take or get out if we were waiting a little bit longer would be, where else would we want to take action if this was the crypto that we're trading? There's one more place you want to take action at. Man, you got this. The answer is underneath this line. Okay, draw your symbol underneath that line. Okay, the accelerated adjustment. If price is entering here, there's no reason for it to be here unless it's a sign of weakness. Okay, so this would be the next area you want to draw. You could therefore conclude by drawing that, and these are the areas of weakness there. Okay, we identified quite a bit on this crypto. Okay, quite a bit. All right, let's go to the last two. We've identified that Bitcoin should have been bullish a few weeks ago using USDT.D, and I did a large report, I want to say a few weeks ago, and it looked like this. Okay, this was on the weekly chart for USDT.D, and you guys remember when I placed this video, 6.16. We've had this line for months, almost a year now. We've had this line because we knew the tiger lines and we knew exactly where to draw them by creating the tiger analysis. Okay, so we had this, and when we did this, we knew that Bitcoin should be going in, that Bitcoin should be going up. If Bitcoin's going down, it's going in the wrong direction, because we already know the story, especially when we closed exactly on the lines later that week. There was like 2 more days. There was a day and 9 hours left. Okay, but we actually end up closing directly on that line. Pretty darn close. Let's go over to the actual crypto now. Index. Let's go to that weekly chart. On the larger weekly story, there was that close, and we covered this the other day. And what we're doing is we're looking for this chart to go down, and when this chart goes down, Bitcoin goes up. We need to be primarily focused with that larger story so you understand the context. Okay, we are looking to get to 4.97, 4.61. We've had this number for almost a year and a half. What is this? Since May of 2022, we broke above. This is a weekly chart, so you only get 52 candles in 1 month, 1 year. Okay, but the weaknesses appeared up here, down here. Now, there is not really a strong reason to look at this more intraday, but we can, and I said we would. Let's look at that a little bit intraday. We last did the video, we were at 5.48. We've been going down. Bitcoin has been going up, right? Okay. Our last major core, which was right here, would indicate when price is going down. We talked about on Saturday how we had round action. Actually, we talked about a few weeks ago how we had round action coming down. So we should be coming down. And according to that last photo I showed you guys, there's the round action here. Okay, all the cores are up about, and we're starting to round up, and we're stopping there. So I'm very bearish. I'm very bullish in the markets. Okay, cryptos should be moving, and if they're not, something's wrong. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It might be quicker for me to draw it. Did you see the candles here going on like a diagonal slope there?
Yep.
And this one would probably hit it about there, maybe something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to say. Yeah, I'm just wondering whether, basically, yeah, it might do that same thing again. Is there some sort of triangle here or something like, I don't know, is there some like weird pattern there? What I'm saying is, is there something where, you know, that could cause it just to not quite hit that line and maybe hit the top of your blue box rather than, I'm just highlighting the fact that it's,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that once we start hitting this box, we're going to start seeing some strong ups and downs. And look how close we are. It could be today. We took the measurement a few weeks ago and we saw that it can happen in 1 week. Okay. And you'll see Bitcoin do a large move from the low 40s up to the 50s. And it seems like a very short time. And here's 1 week and then 2 weeks. Okay. And that's the case. That's exactly the case. If you're seeing the angle down here, all those wicks are going along that. We have a vortex that happens to be this week. Okay, this lower support and this down support, and they meet together in that area. That's what we call a vortex. So this would be more of a confluence, a more reason why we get a strong bounce. But what else happens on vortexes? Does anybody remember what else happens on vortexes? Or at vortex areas? You know it, Sharon?
I believe it can suck that price right into the vortex.
That's right. Usually when price is just going along its merry way, it gets sucked into those little crevices. I've seen it a lot of times where there's some kind of vortex and price usually dips down, even if it doesn't get all the way down there into the vortex. I also see that sometimes spikes in that area, and if it closes right there, it's still going back in the direction it was going or rejecting. I also see sometimes that when price is allowed to close underneath that vortex, that's a time when the bears in the market will push and dump a lot of supply and try to keep the prices underneath that vortex. I've seen that a few times. But primarily the thing you want to take away is just know that price gets sucked into those areas many times. Okay? Many times. All right. Let's look at this now on the daily chart. Okay? If we're going up if we're going down on this chart, the up chart is the wrong direction. Okay, but there's a problem. There's a lot of noise on the daily chart, which makes this very dangerous intraday. If I go to 6 and 12, you're going to see it. A lot of spikes up and down within a period of 24 hours. Very dangerous to trade using the intraday. Okay, you want to use the flow of price because that's how you make sense of it. But if you look back on that daily chart, it's actually quite simple. Look at all the cores. Does anybody want to connect those cores for me? Go ahead and draw those cores. Somebody gives you this chart, draw those cores on my chart. Let's draw it for real this time. Okay, and I'm going to try to connect as much of these cores as possible. 1, 2, 3. I don't get this third one, but using the average of these cores right here, we're able to see that weakness has entered here if we can close today below that line. And the price to close and beat that line today is 5.28%. That's an easy way you guys can go about that. 5.28%. All right. So say we got that. Yeah, we closed today. That's another sign we're going down. And that's one way you can read it as it's happening. The other thing you can do is draw those wicks, especially when you see the wicks in alignment. Just borrow the first line. I usually, to differentiate, to make it dashed. And then I'll draw it like that. So now we're connecting this wick here, that wick there, and we need to draw here like that, connecting those wicks together. All right, let me make this more thicker so you guys can see it. Here it is. Let's change it to maybe white. All right, and this wick here. All right, so now we can see the next support should be around 4.93. So if you're navigating this on a smaller scale, you might say if we close below 5.28 today, then you're going down to 4.93, which would be bullish today in the markets. And that's one way you can read it. So if you weren't reading the longer term story, read the flow on the smaller term, and you got a good idea of what's happening next. Okay. Let's now go to the Bitcoin, and we're going to look at Bitcoin a little bit more closer. I want to start with a chart that I didn't cover in Chartroom, and I believe it's on Bitstamp. And it's not Bitstamp. I'll go to my watch list. One I really want to show you guys. I plan to do it Wednesday today. Should have been on Bitstamp.
Hey, Sam.
Yes, sir.
Is this session recorded?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Where is it? 1 second. I'm going to look in my image notes. I have it here. I prepared it. I uploaded it. There it is. On BTC USD index. And we're going to look at this on the monthly chart. Here it is. Okay, so I'm typing in Bitcoin or BTC USD and the one that says index on TradingView. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on to the largest story that we have, or one of the largest, and that's the monthly chart. Alright, let's go to the monthly chart. I promise I will look at this on intraday because I said, but this is what I see on the monthly chart, and it's worth drawing. Number one, I see a flow on the underside of price. Alright, this is important for everybody to draw on Bitcoin. Okay, in an easy sense, we can take and see round action, large round action, another round action, and smaller round action. Okay, we can draw this on the monthly chart. This is powerful energy that's lasted several years. Back here is all the way in 2011. And when we see the flow of price, we can see it starting to slow down. It's not saying we won't continue going up, but because of that, we're able to draw the parabolic curve that is the biggest essence. And when we draw that parabolic curve, we can now project it using the highest energy centers. In the rule for parabolics taught, and I believe it's lesson number 3 for parabolics of Sword Methods 5.0, is bring it straight up in the air, not to the left, not to the right. You'll mess up the calculation. Bring it straight up in the air, and the first energy center you're going to bring it to is here. And what that would do is that would give Bitcoin a maximum price of 858. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah. $858,000. That's a lot. Okay. 858,000 is very possible on the table. Maximum. Okay. 858,000. That's a lot. A middle area might be 129,000. Current price being 51K today. Okay, is this good or what? Did you guys know this? Did anybody check that out? I bet you didn't. Okay, according to this map, you tell me now, when should the real Bitcoin weakness ensue? The real Bitcoin weakness, when would it be time to know to get out if you were riding these waves up from the bottom to the top? Can somebody tell me so that you are now the expert on the flow, and it's a real simple flow? Somebody draw it. When does the real weakness happen on Bitcoin? Okay, that's one. Sharon drew prices reaching 85. That'd be one. Okay, that'd be a weakness because we're at the top. It's possible price breaks above there and gives us a new health, but that would be another trade. We would need to break above before we can buy again. We can sell it at 859,000. Not saying it's going to go there, but that's a lot. But we could sell it at 859,000, and then we can look to get back in only after a break. Let somebody else take the risk of buying at the top of the market. We don't like to buy at top of the market. Where's the next one out?
The midline, and also I just highlighted that sort of mid one where it reached that peak last time. It would create a head and shoulders of probably around just a little higher than where we are currently.
Okay. So mid-level and possibly some head and shoulders, possibly some weaknesses. We can zoom in to see those types of weaknesses that are happening. We already have done that on many charts. But there's another answer I'm looking for. And for time's sake, I'll give you the answer I'm looking for. And the answer I'm looking for is here. Okay? If price is building beyond the underside of this parabolic, after we are clearly on the top side for many years, since 2011, right now we're in 2024, if we're trading below here, especially if we're building on the other side and rounding up, and we can know the exact price for any month just because we already have the curvature. We already have the angle. So I can know whatever price it is. I know that this month it's 23,000. I'm sorry, next month it's 23,000. So if price is trading below 23,000, I know there's no
real reason for us to be trading. There's no real reason for us to be on the underside of here, unless that's weakness appearing. So that would be the weakness, and that's a sign to get out of Bitcoin and to tell everybody and your Nana to get out of Bitcoin. Okay, that's when you want to get out. Okay, and you can see that on the monthly chart. If we're just closing below there on the weekly or daily, it's not enough. I want to be closing there on the monthly chart. Okay, we could put something like this. If we are closing below this yellow line on the weekly chart, on the monthly chart, sorry, I know this is a sign of weakness. I should say we know, we would know, this is a sign of weakness. Alright. Okay. For your records, that's important. Okay. We also know if we're building on top of 859,000, then the sky is the limit. I don't think that's going to happen, not even close. Alright, let's look now at, let's see, there's something I wanted to point out. We're having a lot of volume booms on the lows. Okay, look at the highest volumes that are happening. On the down bars, the effort was lots of activity, and the result of that, of the effort, was higher prices, so we can tell that's buying. On the low, the buying next boom should happen around these prices on the volume, and we can see that there's an influx of volume in this area near the bottoms. Another one was here at the top, and it was selling. Here should have been the next one of buying. We saw some big up moves down here on this down bar. The buying happens on down bars in volume spread analysis on this down bar of March of 2020, and then here again on the down bars of November 1st of 2022 was the last influx of volume. But we can see that the volume, as we're getting higher, is starting to dry up. Okay, the volume itself is forming a trend since our last of buying, or we can see that maybe things are slowing down a little bit. Okay, this is probably, that means we're approaching the climax soon. Let's now look at, let me just highlight those for your records. I'm just going to highlight some of those areas. Let's look at, not specifically, and this one here. We are going to look now at our indicator, our favorite indicator, my favorite indicator right now. I'm using this one quite a bit, RSI for map location. Okay, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Okay, our lowest buy area should have been back here, but we don't have any RSI data for that. The earliest we have is right here for our map location indicator. We can see we're well below in that buy zone, and then the next time we come in from is right about here, and that's our last buy area, and then again we're below now. But here's something interesting. We have been forming a nice trend on the downside of the parabolic, so that's a little bit natural for that. I like to see, from swing lows to swing highs, I like to see a strong pullback lower than the previous pullback. Now, this is the other way that I trade RSI. We're going to take 2 minutes and talk about this. So you guys remember when I first introduced RSI, I talked about the band effect. Okay, the band effect is like a rubber band. The one that pulls back fires the other. Okay, so let me give you an example. In this example, I can see price going higher and making swings higher like this. Okay, that's the two swings, 1 and 2. This is the low, and this is the low. But the RSI is getting, the one that's, the RSI is getting lower. Okay, let me see this. Here's the first swing, and here's the second swing. Okay, let me do that more accurate. Swing 1, swing 2. In this example, which one is pulling back to fire the other? The answer is RSI. RSI is firing price. That's the one that's like the rubber band. This isn't pulling back. Price isn't pulling back. It's RSI that's pulling back. And this is the other way that I trade RSI. There's only just two ways that I trade them. RSI map location and RSI band pullbacks. Last year I introduced band pullbacks and I showed you how that works. If price is the one that pulls back, it will fire the indicator, and the indicator will move fast. And that just means that the indicator will move fast. We can't use that for monetary purposes except for to read price and when we should be looking in those seasons. But this is one way I use it. If we're in an uptrend, I look for when price is pulling back, and that means we're ready for a big move. Accordingly, the RSI is pulled back on Bitcoin for a very large move. I believe this energy is going to be enough to see Bitcoin to new highs, which means I'm not just expecting Bitcoin to make it to the previous high of $60,000. I expect Bitcoin to hit new highs accordingly. Okay? Does that make sense? Because of the band principle, in an uptrend, I expect prices to make new highs, and there's going to be a lot of momentum, and this means that there should be a very strong up move on Bitcoin that's higher than 60,000. Okay? Now, I didn't catch this monthly chart until about a week or two ago, and I was supposed to share it with you guys in our last Bitcoin reports, and I didn't. Okay, I forgot to. And then we did Bitcoin the other day on Saturday, and I didn't either. So I said, oh, okay, well, at least do it on Saturday. But you all know where Bitcoin was going because you have USDT.D. But now I'm letting you know the evidence is as such that we should be hitting new highs on Bitcoin, and that's in accordance with the momentum. Okay, the band momentum. Okay. Let me put some text on here. A band momentum. I can see on the monthly chart that we have band pull back momentum that should fire price to new highs. I believe there is enough energy on Bitcoin on the larger time scales to propel price into new territory. Okay? And I think this is also in alignment with prophetic words. But this is important that you guys understand and know this. Okay, you know the principle of band momentum, so I'm glad to share this with you. Okay. Now, let's go over, I promised I would look at this on more intraday, but you gotta always keep in alignment with the story, okay? If you can keep in alignment with the story, you're gonna know a lot of the secrets of what to do. Okay, last foundational area would have been approximately here. And let's see if it's in alignment with the cores. Here, stretched out, yep. So we can see from the cores, the foundational area 1 and 2, we should have had support here, and we did. That was in August of 2022. So that was the low, and we also knew that should be a support based on the foundational areas from here. Okay, the other things we concerned about was the health appearing, because we were in a downtrend. Health appeared here. Sword cut would appear here. Draw that real quick if you wanted to. This helps you not take your eye off the price. When you draw these areas for real, you got a good grasp on what's actually happening. If this was the first area of health, the second area of health would have been here, close. Now, we never really came down fully, only spiking in these areas. That's a little bit bullish. Okay, that's a little bit bullish. Now, let's go now quickly towards the more intraday charts, daily, and we're going to look to see what's actually happening. Now, I do see some noise, a lot of noise on here. Let's see if we can identify anything on the, let's go back to that weekly chart, sorry. Let's go to our indicator, and let's identify the health areas. Okay. Using our map location, we can see that we're looking primarily in these areas, and price has not came down to these areas, nor has pulled back. Okay, only on the larger monthly scales. So shorter term, there's not an additional indicator on the weekly. Let's see if there's something on the daily chart. On the daily chart, in this area, there would have been trades along this path using the map location of those lows here, and we pulled below, well below in these areas. Okay. If we now look closer on the daily chart, we can use these last locations as well. Let's see, actually we're still in the foundational line, so we're going to continue using the same one. If we were drawing this professionally, you are of course going to use the rectangle tool. Okay. Stretch it out. Accordingly, look at what just happened on January of 2024. January 27th, the beginning of February, our last buy would have been triggered here, okay, right here. So your last buy signal was in here. Let's see what happened. Oh, yep, there you go. Went up at the buy signal. Okay. So our last buy signal gave us buying here. Now, what was the wrong fish? Let's go and zoom in accordingly. The wrong fish, according to USDT.D and according to the buy signals, when price is swimming in the wrong direction. The correct direction is up because the health is here, signals here, USDT.D. Look for the short-term weaknesses, and there you know where your next health is. Okay? The signal is when price is swimming downward. Look on a 6-hour and 12-hour chart. Here's the weakness I'm going to draw it for you. Price is swimming in a down direction these times. We talked about short-term weakness towards the end of January on Bitcoin, and we can draw it as simple as connecting some of those tops. I have two areas. I have price coming up like this in this wiggle shape. That means we're looking for a flat. We also have a straight here connecting these areas. So this would have meant health enters here. And another area we would have been looking for health is maybe here at these areas. So this would have been health above this flat. And you can have drawn that blue if you wanted to. If you're drawing this more professional, of course, it's going to look like this. And that's one way to navigate that Bitcoin. This is the last crypto we're doing today. Here should have been the health, and yep, there's the health. This is February 9th, okay? February 9th and 10th, we can see prices appearing health, and that should be when price goes up, and that was indeed just not too long ago. We were moving just this week, so this would have been right during that move with the first health is appearing and ending on that short term around January 26th. Okay, here's another short-term weakness. This downtrend with the health appearing here. I will now circle all those times when the health comes back in. So if people were looking for entries, these are all the entries here. One around 41,000, one around 43,000, and another around 48,000. Those are the areas of health. Okay? This is the short-term 6-hour chart. Do I have any other questions regarding this? There's something we should draw on this chart, by the way. Does anybody want to draw it for me? Let's draw. I'm sorry, before I let you guys draw, I'm going to put that signal back on. Let's type this in right here. This was going to be a daily chart RSI locations buy signal. Okay. Things all just like this. Let me mark these on your map. Health here. Health. peers, health, peers, wrong way fish. There's another wrong way fish, which we talked about in our tutorial today. And here's the next health. It's going to be multi-touch flat. And here is the health on top. Okay, so those are all entries. Area 3, number 2, and number 1. 41K, 4K, and K. Alright, for your notes, this is a very good thing for you guys to see, because you guys can apply these principles to any chart. I think that's all we really want to cover today regarding Bitcoin. By the way, sorry, there was one other thing I needed to add. Draw that foundational area. New foundational area here and here. What's our next sign of health on here? Can somebody tell me where we might find another health appearing on this chart, apart from the ones we drew? So you want to go it? Take a stab at it? I drew a key angle. What should we do to find our next health? Because there would have been another confirmation of entry, and there may be one later in the future too.
If we hold that line,
okay. Yeah, if we hold above the line, we are bullish. There's another one that I'm looking for another answer rather than just being above it, which is a very good sign. If we go below that line, there's weaknesses that have appeared. But there's another thing we can do with this line.
and I was wondering about bringing the line to the top of the candle as well.
Can you do it? Approximately? Show me where.
Not really.
Okay, all right. Superfood drew this line. That's a good one, but we can see that in the larger context, there's a peak, and maybe this constitutes round action. So this area and this area would be the primary areas we're focused on. We connected those lines, and we do have this longer line. So specifically this line right here, what should we do with it? Especially in sword method. Give it 10 more seconds.
Duplicate the line.
Duplicate the line, okay.
Use as a phantom angle.
Okay, and you can put it where? What do we do with it? Thank you, Superfood, good job. We put it there. Alright, so how can we read this now? What does this tell us? What did this tell us? Can somebody tell me? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Your friends are sitting next to you on your charts. You drew this. How do you read this? How do they read this?
When we touched it a few times, it gave us confirmation that there was strength.
That's right. When we touched it a few times, there was strength. If we were reading the chart and prices broke on set down on top of here, and all we had was just this data, we could tell this is the time to buy. We can also see that when prices are rounding on top in this area, that this would have been the time to buy as well. Do we normally like buying at tops? No, unless we're building and rounding on top. In this case, we broke above the line February 8th. That was a sign of health. But we can't just buy, because what if we're just spiking? But when I start seeing prices rounding or building on top of that line, especially when we stop right on it, in this case we're getting pretty close, on, what is this, February 11th, we're getting right to the bottom or spiking below, I could say, hey, I may want to buy. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to look at, this is a little advanced because I haven't taught volume spread analysis in Sword Method 5.0, but we will teach some of that in 6.0. But I would be looking on the down bars, since buying has to happen on down bars, I would be looking for increases in volume. Okay, so we have a few down bars to look at. Let's pull up the volume on the 6-hour chart and see what it shows us. Okay, if I'm seeing an increase of volume the first time, and then the other thing we can look for is low supply. So I'm looking for very high volume or very low volume. Okay, the first candles, we see the very high volume on the up bar, and the down bar, okay? What this was pushing volume to keep us above the line the first time. And then as we come down, there was a very high volume on this. Let me show you with my fingers, okay? We're going to do a quick volume spread analysis. One day we're going to get really in-depth in this, but on this bar right here is related to this candle, okay? And this candle was that white bar that was right next to it, okay? This was pushing volume. Let's get through that top, pushing. The next is that when we came back to these areas, here, let's use yellow. When I came back to these areas, on the down bar, there's no more volume. It was this bar right here. No demand. Okay? That means that the supply has been eaten up and price is ready for the markup. It's right that we go up. There's two main events that you're looking for, major volume and very low volume, which is no demand bars. Okay? So after we saw the energy, they come back and test this area to see, hey, does anybody want to buy it here? And the buyers, the people who own the crypto, are not selling at this volume. No one's selling at that. They're like, oh, okay, we're all bullish. So the institutional money is very bullish on that day because there's no demand for those prices in the context of the story. When you read volume spread analysis, you can either read it in context with itself or with the story. I prefer the story because the map is the story. And it lets us know, hey, we're in a bullish territory, so you know what to look for. It makes things real simple. And when I teach it later on, it's going to really help. It's really going to help us in the future. Okay, the next area I'm looking for is this down move right here. What's happening with those down bars? Okay, so let's take a look. We can see that the volume is ramping up on those down bars. And what this means is that there's buying coming in because they want to pick up these last. There's more supply. People want new buyers coming in this area. If I see a pattern, this means that there's buying coming in here. So this increase, buying incoming or supply. It would be new supply, incoming. Okay. And that's good. You want to see that in an uptrend, okay? Because now you want to see the buying in the context of the story. All right. I think I wanted to zoom out just a little bit more. Okay. Look at the down bar. This is where the buying should happen. On this last down bar, which was on February 13th, which was just yesterday, on February 13th, I still have high volume on this area, and the next bar is an up bar. If this was selling, then why is the next bar and up bar also on equally high volume or very close to equally high buying? That means that this was not selling, this is buying. So if somebody told you, hey, yesterday there's buying going on, you have a very high degree of certainty knowing that price is going to continue higher because you know the context of the story. The context of the story is that if there's buying in an area or a territory where there's already should be bullishness, and you know it because you read the map, you're on top of the line, then you know with a higher degree of certainty that it's only a matter of time before you go up, especially if you're reading this on a 6-hour chart. You can read that in its context. I'm not the best teacher on volume spread analysis. I'm decent at best, okay? Fine. There is a website called tradeguider.com, and they have some very interesting books by Tom Williams, Gavin Holmes, and using the Wyckoff method. And I think it was Tom Williams used to be a syndicate trader who studied under Wyckoff years ago. They talk about how they used to meet together to manipulate the markets with other banks, and how the banks used to get together in secret meetings, and they would draw out a graph, and they would target they would target stocks and stuff. Even when the stocks were very, very bullish in the fundamentals, they would target them, and that's how manipulation really happens. Or now I know nowadays there's a more powerful manipulation. There's other types of manipulation, but the general way is through volume and the buying and selling and the moving of prices, and it forms accumulation and distribution. And the reasons it really happens is because a lot of the buying and selling cannot be done in bulk. Okay, they have to break it up into smaller chunks. Otherwise, if they buy all at once, they'll drive up price against their own selves, and they'll end up paying a higher price. So they have to they have to trick the retail people, the average trader, into doing things. And the way that they can get the average trader to do things is to make them panic and fear. They can shake them out. If they have billions of dollars in holdings and you only have a few thousand, they'll actually sell a lot and drive the market down. Even though they want it to go up, they will drive it down just to stop you out. If you trigger your stops, just to get you, you're saying, oh, I'm done, I'm getting out of this crypto. The average trader will get out and they'll play the long game, and then once prices are at the bottom, they'll actually buy up again at better prices. They'll buy up your supplies, and then they'll drive the prices higher. And they do that quite a bit, and it's explained in Trade Guider in some of the books that they've written. Some of the books they use not candlesticks, they use the bar, and it may be a little bit difficult to read. Some of that material may be a little bit boring, but if you understand some of the basic principles, it can do you well. In Sort of Method 6.0, I hope to do some tutorials regarding some of the volume spread analysis, and we'll prepare some beautiful slides, just like we did last time, but this time they'll look even better. Oh, well, questions? Yes, sure. What questions do we have?
Question. You've concentrated a bit on why we've been going up, but can we look at some angles of trend lines that we're hitting currently that may indicate a correction, given the fact that we've got quite a few prophetic words from various different people of us hitting 51 to 52k and then coming down? I think there's a few lines that could maybe draw there.
Have a target at 55,449, which was hit, and the high side of 52,995. My current resistance, we talked about this one on Saturday, 52,995, which is about 53,000. Okay, based on what I can see using target system, I would say you're close to the top. Current price 51,607. 53k or 52,995. Okay.
Yeah.
So that,
and it seems we've pretty much hit that level. Where would be the next point that you might consider buying Bitcoin?
where would be the next point to buy Bitcoin? It's a good question. Daily chart. Definitely look for a pullback at 52, and USDT.D, by the time we hit this, USDT.D should have already been hit in our major area, which is, one moment, which is 4. We're almost there. We're almost there at 4.97 high, 4.61 low. I think we're gonna reverse just a few times and build on that area. At the very least, we're gonna swoop down nice and slow, but I actually think it's gonna be more abrupt. We'll probably hit within today or possibly even this week. And once we do that, I'm looking for Bitcoin to go the opposite direction, okay? And the markets too, for a little bit. So that may be as early as today. So we want to be looking possibly to take some profits and look for some up and downs in these areas on many of our cryptos. I would say in the shorter term, the curvature of these foundational areas and these foundational areas bring this crypto to about right here. If it happens today, we're looking for us to fall to around 40 to 41,000. And we did not fully hit the bottom last time when we were in January. If you see the market go from 52 to 42,000, I wouldn't be surprised if you hit that low. Okay, I would need another signal on when to buy again. But as it is, I would not be surprised if we go as low as 41,000. Okay. Do I have any other questions regarding that?
That's the area that I'm looking for. I believe I'm being shown
Really?
41. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's an interesting fractal as I think that where Bitcoin went to 52 and then came down to 41 in the past. Or so yeah, so I'm definitely considering that. I'd be also potentially looking for a bounce point, maybe somewhere in the middle where alts might have a bit of a run, some of the alts. So I don't know if you've got any midlines there. What would be your bounce points? I've definitely got some bounce points, but what would be your bounce points in between?
For altcoins?
No, Bitcoin. For Bitcoin, is there?
Oh, for Bitcoin?
Is there a bounce point in between there that you consider?
Yeah. You can draw that angle, the shorter term angle here. This might give us some support here and here, right? That might be a support worth watching. Support really. We're going to put it on the bottom. We're going to put it on the right side. Let's make this bold. Let's just put this in the middle. And let's get that price. It's possible we can finding support at 45. Yeah, 45. You know why this is good? It's probably going to bounce up and down at 45. And here's why. There was a sword cut based on, there was a sword cut that should be based on these areas here. And that sword cut was never hit. I mentioned this on Saturday. I did mention this on Saturday. This sword cut was never hit. I put it on the 12-hour chart. And if we didn't reject on the bottom side, then you're going to reject on the top side, most likely. There's a vortex here at 45. So I would say it's possible that we're going to bounce up and down at 45, but because it's such a big target, 52, most likely you're going to come down one more time after that bounce up. So we may come down to 52, or I'm sorry, we may come from 52 to 45, then go back up, maybe hit a double top, and then we're going to come back down to 41. If it all happens on the day in the next few days, it's going to look like up and down. It's going to be very turbulent for a lot of people. Right? Very turbulent for a lot of people. And again, my reason is because this 45 sword cut was not hit on the other side, so it's most likely going to provide support. And if it does it, we're looking for an interception. We're looking for this vortex around February 18th. Can you imagine how violent this is going to look? If we come down and then go up and come down, most likely that's probably going to be the case. We'll go from here down and then come back up, and possibly somewhere, maybe the low side, maybe the top side, but we'll eventually go down again to maybe 41, 42 high, somewhere around there, and then we'll be able to go up again. Most likely that's probably going to be the case. That's my prediction, looking at the natural flow and progression of price. Okay. And if we hit the target today in the next few hours, the high side of the target, look for that to happen possibly this week or next week. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone else? I'm probably going to do an emergency video using this recap on YouTube.
Yeah, I just want to say that I sold all my Bitcoin and I have shorted it. And I believe that will be very profitable.
Good. What did we hear? We heard after people realized a lot of the Bitcoin manipulation, Shiba's going to do really well. But Shiba's already in a position on the charts to do well. Whether it's going to respond really strong when Bitcoin has its major drop, I think that's going to be the case. And then they said prophetically, I think Prophet Robin said that there's going to be a lot of money that moves out of Bitcoin into some of these coins because they're just going to get tired of it. But we're going to need to see the full thing play out, because we can see that larger health in the longer term, and the weakness would have to appear first in Bitcoin. But USDT.D, the weakness is coming up very soon, so that means the turbulence should begin. So let's talk about what we learned, and we'll put it all in context.
In today's Chartroom video, we covered a lot of tutorials for Japanese yen, METFI. We also looked closer at USDT and Bitcoin. Most of that information is found on our website, or when you receive the live link, patreon.com/jsong_7. But right now we're going to give you the recap for these cryptos. Everything in this video is not financial investment or trading advice of any kind. Everything is just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I ate red crayons for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries substantial risks. Never trade more than you could afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Okay, past performance is never indicative of future performance. Let's go over some of our highlights from today. Okay. In our tutorial video, we talked about the Japanese yen. We pointed out some major trend lines with some verification, projecting our phantom lines, talking about the differences between round action and peaks. We talked about RSI location and how we can find sell signals within a downtrend or buy signals within an uptrend, and how to read them in context of the larger fish principle. We talked about how the fishes that are swimming in the wrong direction are easily cut, and we can identify them using a few basic principles. And some of these are the things that we learned from today's video, which is uploaded on our website. But overall we did find that in today's season, we have been at a sword cut with strong round action in a downtrend at a RSI signal location, multiple weaknesses appearing therefore, and we're looking for prices to continue going down. And that seems to be the case with the Japanese yen. You may want to pair the Japanese yen with a strong other currency, such as one like the euro, the US dollar, the Canadian, the Aussie. Those are some of the main ones that you want to trade. Grand British pound, Chinese yuan. Look for the one that's strong and then pair it with the index. When somebody told me about the index charts, I didn't even know I could look at them until just a few short years ago. And I was like, whoa, you could just type in the crypto pair you want, euro, index, and then it'll pull up all of the indexes. And the indexes are a collection of all the baskets of currencies compared to that just one, and it gives you an average of what that currency is doing. And that's one easy way to read it. Okay, so just find one that's weak, find one that's strong, and pair them up together. Japanese yen accordingly is weak, and it looks like we're going to be weak all the way down until these prices over here are currently around $721. We can say if health appears by connecting these last recent highs, and if prices come on this side, there's health appearing, and you may want to look for the next setup. We looked at METFI. We were able to identify a few different things. We were able to identify the essence. Here's some round action here with HB1 and HB2, which we talk about in sword methods 5.0 in our lessons on our website, 1 through 10. We can see that there was verification for HB2, and therefore we're not really paying attention so much to HB2, but it was something that we pointed out. We were able to connect the round actions from 1 and 2, which would have been approximately the highs right here, and the highs of that essence, that round action here, and bringing them to our lower energy center. We can see that at the wicks on the weekly chart, we stopped exactly at 1.86. Okay, so this is a sign that the weakness fully hasn't entered in, and rightly, but we spiked very low. On the daily chart, it's not really the place we wanted to look for that, because it would have looked like the lines were broken. Okay, but weakness appearing, just not ready to go down yet. We did come back up one more time to those HB areas, and therefore the weaknesses have appeared. According to the principle of the hard close, we saw that prices should have moved up around when price was hard closed at 1.86. We are in a territory of weakness on METFI. I really wouldn't be interested in this just yet until there's another setup. You may want to connect the tops on the weekly charts and wait for prices to break above those areas or build above those areas, and then it may be time to buy METFI. Okay, but as it is, there's some weaknesses in here. Okay, we can also see that there's an accelerated adjustment line that should be drawn from these bottoms here and these bottoms here on the chart. Okay, and that accelerated adjustment line, we labeled it as accelerated adjustment line 1, or AAL, and when prices build below that angle, that would be the next sign of weakness. That would be the number 2 sign of weakness. Okay, with the other sign of weaknesses we're looking for is when we had drawn those foundational lines or angles. We can see 2 of them, and that should create a range for the sword cut that should be approximately between these prices of $2.01 to $2.20. So if you want to just draw a block from 210 to 220, we're looking for prices to round up hit that number and then continue going down. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for prices to continue going up, hit that number and go down. Okay, that's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, the last support should have been about right here, and price is going up, so therefore that's our price did have an increase in volume in these areas, so we can see there's still some buying and some supplies, so most likely you're going to continue going up to the last known resistance, which is that sword cut area, and then we should go down. We looked at USDT.D, and this was very important a few weeks ago. We've been reading this chart for a few months, and these lines we've had for months, but a few weeks ago we stopped almost exactly on our Tiger projection of 6.16, and what this means is that we're rounding up right into this area, and we have been expecting this chart to go down. When this chart goes down, Bitcoin goes up, and I told you almost 2 years ago when we hit this lower line. It's been almost 2 years now. Yeah, this is a weekly chart. Okay, there's only 52 candles in the year. And when we hit this, I'm going to make an emergency meeting, because this is going to be the period on when we're going to see Bitcoin start reversing. We're going to see some major weaknesses appearing in these areas. Okay, now here's what happened. When this chart stopped at the 6.14 area for that week, this was telling me the market should be bullish and Bitcoin should be bullish. Okay, Bitcoin should become bullish right there, and when this chart goes down, the Bitcoin goes up, the cryptos go up. We are very close to our 4.97 and a low of 4.61 area, and if we stop in those areas, we're going to see Bitcoin go the opposite direction. Okay, now in the shorter term, we can read that weakness has appeared below 5.28. If we close today below 5.28, that means we really should be going down. Okay, now we already know we're going down on the longer term. The shorter term chart should tell us that weakness will appear below 5.28. Okay, which we're already well below there today. Okay, but you got another till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's only the morning, so there's most likely you're going to probably hit your target within today. The high side is 4.93, and the wicks seem to form a nice little vortex on February 18th between one of the Tiger supports and those down wick supports. Okay, they form together around February 18th. So it's very possible that within the week we're going to hit it, or within today we're going to hit it. But there is some support that's already starting to appear, which again, when this goes up, Bitcoin should start going down. So be careful and look for a reversal on Bitcoin soon. Okay, this I believe is going to start the period of tumultuousness. Now, longer term, Bitcoin has potential to hit up to $840,000. And $129,000 is just the last mid-phantom, which price did respond in those areas. However, I really think that price will hit 840,000 if it's allowed to do. Okay, and there has been a prophetic word that Bitcoin would hit a very high number and then have a very large crash. Now, I have in the shorter term, I can see those prices should be around 61,000, and below right now in this days, it should only be about $52,995, which is about 53K, okay, in the shorter term. But overall, there is still some health, and unless prices are building below this $23,000 area, if we're building below 23,000, I would be looking for us to go down in a big way. But until then, on the longer term, I'm still not bearish Bitcoin fully, okay? Okay, I still think that even though Bitcoin's going to have a large drop, it's not going to go to zero unless we're really building below 23,000, or unless there's some kind of big hack or glitch or something like that. Okay, but overall, there's a strong uptrend, and I did not show this on Monday or Saturday, and I do apologize. I didn't show you guys, but I'm showing you today. Okay, so these are the maximums. Again, if we close below this yellow line on the monthly chart, we would know this is a sign of weakness. But it has to be the monthly chart, not the weekly, not the daily. It needs to be on the monthly chart. Just keep that in mind, and that's how I drew mine. If we look at RSI band momentum, I can see that there should be enough momentum in this crypto to get us high. The only thing that I really want to stress is that even though the chart looks good, longer term on Bitcoin, on that monthly chart, the USDT.D chart was the primary one that gives me a lot of what I need to know about Bitcoin. And so because I'm using that chart in conjunction with Bitcoin, I'm not so much focused on the longer term stuff right now. It will come back into play, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to encounter some problems in the short term, but I don't want you to take your eye off the prize of the longer term. I don't believe this is the start of the flash crash and things like that, but I do believe it's going to be the start of a very tumultuous time for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin should go down by quite a bit, but I don't think it's going to be the time where it goes down to just zero. Okay, I don't think that's just it just yet, because I still see the momentum in this crypto for the long side. And I wouldn't think that 53,000 is the prophetic numbers that Bitcoin's going to hit, where it has that God candle and then it comes down, because the previous high was 60,000. Okay, the previous high was 61,000. So we're not even hitting the previous high yet. I don't think that fulfills the prophetic. I think if we hit 120,000, I think that could be even 60, even 80,000. Okay, could be a fulfillment of maybe that prophecy. But in my data, I still see that there's still money on the table up to 840,000. That would be definitely the fulfilling of that prophetic information. How can I reconcile it even though I see weaknesses on USDT? I reconcile it like this: shorter term tumultuousness, shorter term momentum. Reading the whole picture, I can see that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs in a strong way on USDT.D and Bitcoin. Okay, this means Bitcoin's going to be playing up and down. Let me show you more what I mean. Okay, here's Bitcoin on a weekly chart. There should have been strength and supports around 23,000. We can see that we're spiking into these areas and have been going up ever since. Here's another RSI location buy signal that happened just in January. It appears to be in January on the daily charts. We can see, using this chart, and we can see the different entries for Bitcoin using the fish principle, the principle of the fish swimming the wrong direction. Because USDT.D is going down, that means Bitcoin should be going up. All we do is hunt the down moves, and we can use those. So here would have been the first down move with health appearing here at 41,000 areas. Here would have been the next health here at 44,000. That would have been another entry once we appeared in that area. And the last one would have been after our multi-touch flat based on these two cores over here. We can see that health should have appeared approximately here at 48,000, and this was just over the 9th of this month of February. And we've been going up ever since. So those are the two shorter term weaknesses appeared in January and ended around January. And then here's the health. This is a 6-hour chart, so this is not long ago, but we also have a RSI buy signal on the daily back on the lows. So I really like this indicator, using it for the way that I study it and use it, called Maplication, and I used to use band momentum. Those are the two ways I use it, not like everybody else. You reading the volume, we can see a few other things. We can see that I guess I didn't draw this. If we were to connect these two bottoms here, there's a trend line, and I didn't take a good picture of it, but if we draw these two bottoms and we place them at the last energy center, which is up there on top right there, we can see that price is actually building on those areas. And then reading the volume spread analysis, we can see there was pushing volume in the beginning, then no demand, which means that we're ready for the markup, and then we can see some more buying came in on these next set of down bars. So this is all still bullish on the 6-hour. So shorter term bullishness was happening in Bitcoin, which is all the more reason we should be hitting our target. Now, where's our target? 50,499 to 52,995. We first hit that low side of the target for 2 days straight, 2 days ago. and it didn't deter us. It didn't deter us. That shorter 6-hour chart was confirming there's still momentum. So therefore, most likely we're going to hit the top side of the target. In my experience with when we put our target system on here, we usually only hit the low or the high. We never really just stop in the middle. In the beginning, when I was doing target system, I always gave you guys the average. But for the most part, I always saw it either on the top side or the low side. So the high side is basically 252,995 or about 53,000. So if you guys want to draw that at 52,995, that's my target for short term. Okay, so on the daily chart, I believe we are going to hit 53 and we're going to come down. Okay, reading this in context with the USDT.D chart that I showed you, on the daily chart, we are almost at the reversal point. So Bitcoin should be reversing soon. And then we read it in context with what is happening now on Bitcoin. Bitcoin should reversing soon. So they're telling the same story. Two charts, the Tether dominance and the Bitcoin, are telling us we should be reversing soon. And what does this mean for you? It means get ready for some strong ups and downs. You may want to take profit very soon on Bitcoin. Okay, you may want to take profit soon on Bitcoin and maybe some of your other cryptos. So where should the next buying points come in? I'm going to show you a few. Number one, if we connect these cores down here, we can see that we should be falling. If we fall in these weeks, we should be falling to around 55,000 area, 50,000, 55.5 if it's on the week of February 18th. This is a daily chart. Okay, so if it's around February 18th, we're looking at 45,500. In addition to that, there was a strong parabolic area. Let me see. I'm going to pull up my actual Bitcoin chart. Based on this upward parabolic. And therefore, our sword cut is around 45,280. Now, when we came to the upside, we never hit it. We just blew past it. I mean, we actually stopped on the low side, just right here. But we blew past it. So we never responded. And when I see that, that means I'm looking for it to hit on the upside when we come down. How would that manifest? It would look like prices coming down and rounding at 45,000. So my first support may be 45. After we hit 45, where are we going? We're probably going to go back up to the target one more time and pull out some more supply. After that, what's going to happen is most likely we're going to come down to the larger parabolic support. Now, here's a larger parabolic support going upwards on the daily chart. I can see the curvature here and here. So therefore, we should be hitting that low of around 41,000. Now, the last time we got close, we didn't touch it. We only spiked and we didn't touch it. And that was around right here. We did not come all the way down to the bottom, did we? No, we did not. So that line is still hot and ready to hit. And it's very possible that we're going to come down to that 41,000 area, 42,000, and make our way up. Okay, so again, in context, it may look something like this. And I drew this for you. So you guys have this. I said I was going to make an emergency video when we hit it, and this is it. Okay, if you guys want more of this type of content, we meet together 3 times a week. Saturdays, Mondays, and Wednesdays on our website, patreon.com/jsong_7. People in our group have had these maps for a long time, and you guys can have them too. We upload them on our website. It's starting in March. It's going to be $10 a month just for the image notes. And for our dive tier membership and access to our exclusive via Telegram group chat and access to all the live video links, it's just $18 for the whole month. And we appreciate your support of our WordRoom ministry and support of our charts. We love this. Let's get back to the program. Here is what I would suspect it's going to look like. Hitting the target high, 53, coming down to 45. Okay, got it. Target 53 down to 45. If you're making notes, you can write these numbers down. 53 up to maybe again the low side of 51 or again 53. And then we're going to come down. Now, if I saw it go to 53 and 45, this is going to fulfill certain prophetic words that they said get ready for a roller coaster. They were saying get ready for some ups and downs. This would look like that. And I can almost guarantee this is going to happen looking at the reversal points on USDT.D. Okay, so up, down. then we are eventually going to go down, because I very much suspect that USDT.D is going to have a very strong support on that level that I showed you at, that Bitcoins are going to hit maybe even today or this week. It's very close to the actual number. So get ready for the reversal to be soon. And then we're going to go down and probably hit 41,000. So 53, 45, maybe 53 again, somewhere above there, 53, or I'm sorry, 53, 51, somewhere maybe around there. We're going to come back down again to 41. And once we hit 41, I think we're going to come up again one more time. I think there's longer term bullishness that's still going to happen, but it's going to look like bouncing around. And when I look at the USDT.D chart, on the weekly chart, I can see tiger projection here. There should be support along this area. There's support on the monthly at this multi-touch flat, and I believe it's going to look like price bouncing up, price bouncing down, price bouncing up in the longer term weekly, possibly even the daily chart. And then what's going to happen is eventually, I believe either we're going to have a very strong down move, or we're going to break up, which would be very bullish for crypto, or we're going to break above these areas and it'll be very negative for crypto. But ultimately, we're going to find out very soon what's going to happen. And I pray more of the stories revealed that is going to come next. Now, here's something that I didn't share. Okay, this support on USDT is made up of a very long area. We did the tiger calculation. Okay, and if we reverse at these points, which most likely we're going to, that will be still within the down move here, which means there's still a chance, a strong chance, that we will just simply phase through to this side. Okay, price bouncing up and down in this area and then eventually phase through. That would be bearish, this chart, very bullish on Bitcoin. Even though there's support here, we should play in this area for a few months, ups and downs, and eventually come to the health side for Bitcoin. The health side in this case, again, is the downside. It's in reverse. Because remember, when this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down. When this chart goes down, Bitcoin goes up. So don't forget that. If we just phase through, that allows Bitcoin to hit very new highs. And I'll be here with you. I'm here with you. I told you guys I'd be here with you through the wealth transfer, through some of these events. And Prophet Robin said I wouldn't miss it. A few years ago, I asked him, did the Lord say anything about me missing? He says, the Lord says you're not going to miss it. And I hope I don't miss it. I don't believe I'm going to miss it. I believe I can see these moves in advance. And here would be longer term bullishness for Bitcoin. This would allow Bitcoin to get to some new highs. But we also have some of the major tiger projections also already on our charts. One of them being here. So therefore, I know if we have a very large pump, it may be from here to here. And that would be a massive up move for Bitcoin. And this is where we should also reverse. I can see some of the smaller ones here, but I also see a major one here. And I can see these levels in advance. But as it is short term, we should be playing around and you're going to see prices reverse. But eventually, I think what's going to happen is Bitcoin's going to come out on top, because this line most likely will be broken. If it's not broken, you're going to know it advance by virtue of being on top of this area. I am speaking very solemnly. This is important. This is a multi-touch flat along here on this blue line. And here's the downtrend. If we're up here in these areas, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video. And if we're above that 7.88% area, somewhere around here, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video and I'm going to say, guys, this is very negative for Bitcoin. This would be the next area that would be very negative for Bitcoin. It is possible, because we're still within the uptrend, that will break to the top side using the multi-touch flat momentum. It would look like this. Bouncy, bouncy, bounce on top of this flat, then that momentum will help break us above here. Until then, all we're doing is playing up and down within this small area right here. And that's going to be scary for a lot of people, because they're going to see their investments going up and down and up and down and wondering, if we break to this side, that's negative Bitcoin. If we break to the downside, let me make that red for you. And if we break to the downside, that is bullish Bitcoin. If you guys want to draw it on your own map, TradingView is a free app. You guys can draw this trend line and you know for a fact. Let me get you those numbers. 7.8, 2.19. Let's see the lows and give you more accurate. 2.85. Okay, those are going to be some of the major ones I'm watching. Here's another major one. 6.1. Okay, I told you guys I would make an emergency video, and this is it. I love you guys, and if you have questions, go ahead and join us. Our website's right here, www.patreon.com. I want you guys to hang on for a ride of your life. It's very possible that we're going to move into these areas in a very quick and short amount of time. It's possible. Some of these things take a few years, as you guys have known. I talked about the big pump and dump, but we can see that in the charts coming in, and this is going to be where we're now at that area in just a few short, maybe hours, maybe within the week. Get ready, take profit. At this time, we are going to close out reading the Word of God. Okay, let's go to Romans, and we're going to finish Romans, or get pretty close to it. Last time we were on, I believe we're Romans 16. Let's get our mind off of the crypto, get our mind on the Word of God. Romans 16. Here we go. I commend you to our sister Phoebe, a servant of the church at Cenchrea, that you may welcome her in the way of the Lord, in a way worthy of the saints, and help her in whatever she may need from you. For she has been a patron of many, and myself as well. And you guys have been a patron of me on patreon.com, right? Greet Priscilla and Aquila, my fellow workers in Christ Jesus, who risk their necks for my life, to whom not only I give thanks, but all the churches of the Gentiles give thanks as well. Greet also the church in their house. Greet my beloved Epentuus, who was the first convert to Christ in Asia. Greet Mary, who worked hard for you. Greet Andronicus and Junia, my kinsmen and fellow prisoners. They are known to the apostles, and they were in Christ before me. Greet Ampliatus, my beloved in the Lord. Greet Urbanius, our fellow worker in Christ, and my beloved Statius. Greet Apelles, who is approved in Christ. Greet those who belong in the family of Astrobulus. Greet my kinsman Herodina. Greet those in the Lord who belong to the family of Narcissus. Greet those workers in the Lord, Tryphaena and Tryphosia. Greet the beloved Perseus, who has worked hard in the Lord. Greet Rufus. He has a great dog, Rufus. A great dog as well. Chosen in the Lord, also his mother. I'm just kidding. Chosen in the Lord, also his mother, who has been a mother to me as well. Greet Assarandicus, Philion, Hermes, Patrobus, Hermas, and the brothers who are with them. Greet Philologus, Julia, Nereus, and the sisters, and Olympus, who he's really good at sports, by the way. And all the saints who are with them greet one another with a holy kiss. All the churches of Christ greet you. And final instructions, it says, I appeal to you, brothers, to watch out for those who cause divisions and creating obstacles, contrary to the doctrine that you have been taught. Avoid them, for such a person does not serve our Lord Christ. but his own appetites. And by smooth talk and flattery they deceive the hearts of the naive. For your obedience is known to all, so that I rejoice over you. But I want you to be wise as to do what is good, and innocent as to what is evil. The God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with you. Timothy, my fellow worker, greets you, and so does Lucius and Jason and Sosipater, my kinsman. I, Tetrus, who wrote this letter, greet you in the Lord. Gaius, who is host to me and to the whole church, greets you. Eratus, the city treasurer, and our brother Quartus greet you. And now to him who is able to strengthen you, according to my gospel and the preaching of Jesus Christ, according to the revelation of the mystery that was kept secret for long ages, but has now been disclosed through the prophetic writings, has been made known to all nations, according to the command of the eternal God, to bring about the obedient to faith. To the only wise God be glory forever through Jesus Christ. Amen. And that will conclude the book of Romans. We'll begin at 1 Corinthians next time. Let's talk just a little bit about some of these things. It begins by greeting people. Do you know, it's a simple thing to say, but it's very sad on how many people are not friendly to the brothers and sisters in Christ. The Bible tells us that you shall know them by the love they have one for another. Here's the scripture. Here's what Jesus said in John chapter 13. By this everyone will know that you're my disciples, if you love one another. It's a sad thing to think about how many people don't greet one another even while they're in church. They don't say hi. They don't spend time loving one another. Don't be afraid to be a friend. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Are you going to get hurt sometimes? Absolutely. Are you going to get betrayed sometimes? Sometimes. Did it happen to Jesus? Yeah. And he was in ministry for 3 years. In fact, he even knew it was coming. I was having a conversation with someone the other day. And this person told me that they had a family member that was an enemy to them. Their own family member. And this own family member is trying to plot in very strong evil against this person. And I care about this person. And I'm really surprised to see that it's one of the own family members. And it's their own child, which is not a child anymore, but a grown adult. And this is an elderly person. And I thought, man, my heart just breaks. And she was asking me, my wife, what should I do? And we were talking about things. And I just said, you know what? Love them and pray for them. And I know it's wrong because the Bible says to honor your father and mother. But even Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. And he still loved him. He still put himself out there. I want you guys to just remember that sometimes your friends are going to betray you. Your family members will turn their backs on you. But you still got to be loving. You still got to reach out in the faith in Christ. The Bible tells us to love your enemies. And do good to those who do wrong to you. It says if someone takes your jacket, give them your shirt as well. If someone forces you to run a mile, run with them too. In this way, you are accumulating reward in heaven and on earth. Because the Lord is going to see, wow, look at them still loving, even though all of this great evil is happening to them. They're still pushing through. And if you still push through after everyone's betrayed you or done wrong, and you're still loving them and you're still doing good, God sees that. Maybe I don't see that. Maybe I can't clap my hands. Maybe your own spouse can't see that and clap your hands. Maybe you could barely see it, but God sees that you do. That goodness that you do, that love you do. When you give when it's hard, when you give your time when it's hard, when you give your effort when it's hard, when you're loving somebody and it's not being reciprocated in return. God sees that and he's going to reward it to you. And you may not see it now, but you're going to be very loved in heaven. You're most likely going to be loved on earth at times too, but we're not guaranteed at all on earth. But you are guaranteed in heaven. God tells us that we will see that much reward. It also says that if we give so much as a cup of cold water to one of these in my name, they will not fail to receive the reward in heaven. In this passage, we can see that Paul was writing all of these things, even though the Tetrarchus was the scribe who actually wrote down what he was saying. We can see that he was preaching and reminding everybody, hey, I want you guys to all know that I love you. I care about you. I've been ministering to you, and there's people I look up to as my spiritual family. My own mother, he says here. My own family. You guys are all close to me, and I love you. And even though I can't see you, I may be even in prison, which Paul ended up being in jail and in prison, but he still was ministering with his words. And he was still preaching and loving. And then he still warns us, watch out for that evil stuff. Watch out for those who are trying to split apart things. Watch for those who are trying to flatter and deceive you. It's not genuine. Okay? But be innocent to what's evil and be wise. The Bible tells us to be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. Then he tells Timothy, his fellow worker, greets him. He says, I want you guys to know the grace of God be with you. And may the grace of God be with you as well. Okay? And let's say a closing prayer. Father, I pray for those who are going through these times and they need peace. I pray that you would give them peace. Cover them. I pray that you would give them peace and cover them. The Bible says, be not anxious for anything, but in all things, by prayer and petition, letting your requests be made known to God with thanksgiving. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And Lord, I pray that scripture over them right now, that they would have peace and that you would guard them. Let them not be dismayed by the things that they see. Let them rather be prayed up and ready to go and ready to understand what you're doing. Let them follow your leading. Put people, godly people in their life that will pray for them, uplift them. Lord, I pray that a special prayer for everybody who joins us in WordRoom for our online ministry. I pray that you would bless the people of our online church. And I pray that you would take care of them and love them. And I pray that they themselves would be loving to others. And that they themselves would make themselves vulnerable and available if needed, vulnerable. May they be emotionally available. As the Bible says, bear one another's burdens. And may they pray for one another. Now, Lord, if they are exerting themselves or overexerting themselves, may they please remember the balance. And may they themselves be refreshed. But may they also pray for one another and love one another and lift up people. May they be strong and have the energy to do. May I do so as well. Lord, I thank you that they are being a light to others, and may we transform the world. Lord, I pray that you'd help us to all accomplish our task through the wealth transfers. Help us through the seed money times and seed money seasons, and reveal to us the next things that happen in markets, in our lives, in our businesses, in our day-to-day, in our relationships with our children, with our family. Let us all have a head start on what to pray for and how to navigate the most important things in our life. We thank you and we praise you. May you bless them. May you keep them, Lord. Make your face shine upon them. Look upon them with favor. Be abounding to them with grace. Be gracious unto them. Lift up your countenance towards them, Lord, and give them peace in Jesus' name. Amen. We'll be back on Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Dive, and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for WordRoom. I'll see you guys soon.